This is Hannah. This is Bailey. Welcome to the Motocross Vault!
Hello, this is Tony Blazier back with another video for the Motocross Vault here on YouTube. And for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run down my top 10 picks for Yamaha's best looking motocross bikes of all time. Last month I did one on Suzuki, and I've also done one on Honda maybe 2-3 months ago. For this one, I'm going to do Yamaha. And there's also going to be a article on Pulp MX, which we do the same thing, and that one Matthes is going to add his thoughts, usually probably tell me why I'm a moron. Usually we don't agree on these things. When I did this, I tried to look at not only how the bikes look today, how they've held up over the passage of time, but also how they compared to their contemporaries of the time. Obviously, any bike from the 70s is going to look old-fashioned by modern standards, but I have to consider how they looked at the time and how they fit into that whole landscape of motocross machines in their day. I've tried to be fair about that, but you know, I was born in 1969, so the bikes of the early 70s really don't appeal to me very much. I did like the ones in the late 70s, early 80s, though. So if you have any thoughts on your picks and why I'm wrong or right, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. One thing I just did is I did add some new merch for the Motocross Vault. If you would like to get some, it is available from Redbubble. If you go to Redbubble and then search for the Motocross Vault on there, the merchandise is available if you want to help support the channel. If you could also share this video, that's very helpful. Give it a like and hit that little bell if you want to subscribe and get updated when we do new ones. So, like I said, this is my thoughts on the best looking Yamaha motocross bikes of all time. Alright, in 10th place we have the 1981 Yamaha YZ250. This is a bike that I really thought should be on the list based on kind of how iconic the 70s Yamahas were. When I was about 11 years old when this bike came out, and to me this was motocross. I didn't know a whole lot about the sport when I was a little kid, but I know my neighbor had a YZ. If you ever saw him in the magazines, guy Bob Hanna was the king in the late 70s, and kind of Yamaha were the symbol to me of motocross. I remember going into the dealership and oogling at these things with the big number ones on the plate and just begging my dad, but my dad was not into motorcycling, so he wasn't going to buy me a bike. I didn't get one until much later, but I always loved the looks of these monoshocks. Like I said, I oogled at my neighbor's bike endlessly. Wanted it so bad. I love this yellow and black bumblebee color from the 70s too. I guess part of that, of course, is was really the formative years of when I was really getting into moto. That's what they look like. The international versions here did look cool as well, the white and red. If you were outside of the U.S., all the YZs, Europe, Canada, Australia, places like that, they were white and red. I kind of like the graphics on the American version a little better, but the white and red color was always very nice. I like the later when they put the red seat on them a little bit later than this. I prefer to this black seat with the minor black color. This is mostly a black and white motorcycle, to be honest, but so I'm not as much of a fan of these. In the 70s, I think I like the bumblebee color better. Like I said, kind of synonymous with Bob Hanna and stuff, and that whole great era for Yamaha. Now, the reason I picked this bike over all the other kind of similar monoshock models, I think the bodywork is a little cleaner in 81. The 80-81 redesign, the side panels are a little more integrated. I much prefer the later ones, 79 and up, where the FIM mandated they move the number plate back a little bit, so it doesn't have those really abbreviated number plates. I never was a big fan of those. This bike just looks good. Like I said, the original monoshock, I love that triangulated swing arm on it. Just a cool looking motorcycle. Here in 81 they added the gold anodized rims and a gold anodized shock reservoir, and I really love that look as well. I was a big fan of gold rims, so that's why I picked this as the number 10 selection on the my list of best looking Yamaha models. Up next, in 9th place, we have a motorcycle I had the pleasure of owning, the 1985 Yamaha YZ250. Now, this is a pretty interesting motorcycle in a few ways, because here in America, this is the first one we got that had the red and white color scheme. Now, as you can see here, this has got a lot more red on it than the earlier kind of Canadian International models. The tank is, the seat is red, the fork boots are red, the frame's red. I really love the looks of this motorcycle. The graphics this year are pretty cool. It has that kind of a interesting red and blue strobe situation going on. Just a good looking motorcycle overall. Like I said, I had this motorcycle. Thing was a absolute rocket. This motor was so fast. It was one of the fastest 250s I've ever owned, and I've owned dozens of them over the years. That thing was a monster. I remember this bike in '84 won the national title. Rick Johnson on board. with barely any mods to the engine. The thing was so fast stock, it could run with like those Incredible Works Hondas. It was just a rocket ship. Pretty much after that, though, it was downhill. The suspension was atrocious on this bike. Didn't have cartridge forks, of course. They were marshmallow soft. I mean, I remember I had to pump like 20 pounds of air in them just to keep them from bottoming over every little thing. And the rear shock this year was really busy. If you hit something just right, it would just kick the thing sideways. It sent me into so many flying W's. It was kind of a handful. Handling wasn't great either. I remember Dirt Bike kind of described it as a school bus with 4 flat tires. It was a motorcycle that was all motor, not a lot else, but I love the looks of it. I mean, today, of course, the bodywork looks old-fashioned and what have you, but at the time, I thought it was a pretty good-looking bike, and probably my favorite Yamaha up to that point. The 84 was very similar, basically the exact same bodywork, but the yellow, I don't think is quite as attractive. Plus, you had guys like Brock Glover here riding it, Rick Johnson. Just a good-looking motorcycle, and like I said, it's pretty amazing how competitive the thing was. Brock almost won the Supercross title on that bike with just some very minor mods, a Simmons anti-cav fork kit in the thing, and when you consider how world-beating the Hondas were at the time, it really is amazing what they were able to do with this motorcycle. But like I said, it had left a lot to be desired in some performance categories, but I still think it's a damn good-looking motorcycle. Here in 8th place, we have the first 4-stroke on my list, the 2006 Yamaha YZ450F. This bike was all new in 2006. This was the 3rd generation of Yamaha's Uber 4-stroke, the first one starting in 1998. I had a very similar machine. I had the 2009 version of this, and I really loved it. A lot of people kind of knocked on it because these weren't super fast, but I actually love the mellow motor on it. The suspension on these bikes is phenomenal. My 09 handled a little better than this first 06. The early ones had a little issue with the turning wasn't great, but styling-wise, they all look the same. I really love this first year because it has this 50th anniversary motif on it. This was available. This is by far my favorite of these retro YZs they've done. The new one, I think it was maybe 16, if I remember right. The 60th anniversary, I didn't really care for that. To me, these yellow Bumblebee graphics look just awesome on this bike. Kind of reminiscent of what One Industries did in the late 90s with their Hurricane kit. So they look pretty great too. But the overall look of this bike was pretty sweet. The frame is unique. It's unlike any other of the aluminum frame bikes. Yamaha's been interesting in that they've kind of gone their own way. Everybody else has basically copied what Honda's done. And Yamaha, in every version of this, has kind of gone their own path. This bike here, like I said, even in blue like this one here, is a good looking motorcycle. I like the strobe graphics this year in 2006. I like it better than the 07, 08, or even my 09. My 09 ended up putting some factory Yamaha replica graphics on it because I didn't really care for the stock ones that year. But in any case, good looking motorcycle all around. I do say, like I said, that I think the bike looks better with these Hurricane style graphics on it than it does in the blue, but the blue is great looking too. You know, the classic look is always awesome, and I really think they did a good job with this particular motorcycle, and that's why I rate it as the number 8 machine on my list. Here in 7th, we have a bike that a lot of you who follow my writing on PulpMax are probably surprised by, the 2015 Yamaha YZ450F. Now, it's been pretty well known that I am not a giant fan of any of the YZFs after 2010. When they switched the motor around backwards, the styling went to hell in my opinion. The 2010 was really weird looking. I hated the side panels, the shroud. When you sit on it, it looks really wide. It's just a strange, bizarre motorcycle. Kind of remind me of a Bizarro Superman version of a motorcycle. Now this particular one, though, I think they did it right. I'm always a sucker for the white and red, the classic Yamaha look. And the white plastic really minimizes the kind of weird lines on these new age Yamahas. The side panels are, I think, bizarre on these, and the subframe kind of hanging out there is always kind of strange. But when you put all the white on there, you really don't notice it as much. And the red actually looks great. And actually the graphics do a pretty good job of kind of blending with the weird bodywork. It's a good-looking motorcycle, such as it is. I fought back and forth for a long time on whether to include these at all, but I have to give credit. I mean, it's interesting. I can see why some people like it. It's very edgy, very kind of new age. I don't like it better than any of the 2-strokes. This thing is just different, and it's one of those love it or hate it things. I don't hate this motorcycle. It's not a bad looking motorcycle overall, and if you're gonna kind of spruce up this kind of weird bodywork, I think this is the best version of it available. Now, they do have obviously the classic blue. It doesn't look to me as nice in the blue. It's not terrible. This 15 actually is one of the better versions of this all around in general. But I don't really care for the blue rims on the new one and stuff, and this one doesn't have any of that stuff. So if I was going to pick one of these new age YZs, it would definitely be this 2015 that would be my top pick. In sixth place here, we have the all-new for 2003 YZ450F. This was the first Yamaha four-stroke to go all the way up to 450 cc's, kind of trying to keep pace with the Honda CRF 450, which was out by this point. This was a four-speed monster of a motorcycle. My best buddy had one, and it was a beast. It was much harder to ride than my Honda CRF 450 at the time. The four-speed made it a little bit tricky if you're going to do anything other than motocross it, and the motor just came on like a ton of bricks. It was, like I said, really a handful. The styling, though, is a little sleeker. I had the 400 version of this, and I really loved that motorcycle. Actually, I preferred it to this 450 in terms of actually riding it. The 450 was much harder to ride than the old 400. The 400 was kind of mellow, but this styling is improved. The graphics look really great on here. The new seat and tank layout's a little more flat and sleek. Good looking motorcycle. My only real knock on it would be the side panels are a little bit huge, and the exhaust is a lot huge. It's definitely a tremendous boat anchor of a silencer. If you were going to get one of these bikes, I would definitely ditch this thing and put a Pro Circuit or White Brothers or FMF on it right away, and that really improved the looks. But a good looking motorcycle. The classic blue's great. The graphics are good. Also, this is the last the last model that had the steel frame. In 2006, they went to the aluminum frame, and I do like the looks of this painted blue frame on this thing. It does look a little more sleek in some ways than the slightly odd version of the frame they used. Like I said, Yamaha went their own way on the frame, and I actually prefer this steel look than this to the one they ended up using. Alright, it's time to start getting into some heavy hitters here. And in the number 5 position, we have the 1989 Yamaha YZ250. This bike was not all new for '89. It was actually redesigned in 1988. I had the YZ250 in '88, and I thought it was a pretty awesome looking motorcycle. This look here, it has an asymmetrical design. You'll see on this left side, the shroud is about double the size of the one on the right. This was kind of reminiscent of Honda's works machines, where they had like a little dinky radiator on one side and a huge one on the other. The styling on this is also kind of a nod to the YZM 500, which was Yamaha's full works open class bike at the time. Now for '89, they added some really cool looking upside down forks that kind of cleaned up the looks in the front, got rid of the fork boots, a 19-inch rear wheel, and the for my money, the best looking ever of Yamaha's graphics. I love this YZ design, really cool, iconic. I'm not sure why they didn't stick with it. Really great look in my opinion. I love the white and red, still looks great now. Clean, nothing unfussy about it, no crazy colors or graphics or anything, just really clean, nice looking motorcycle. Now, like I said, the bike itself does look better on the other side than this one here on the right. It's not quite as clean, but overall it's a good looking motorcycle. Now I think the front and rear fenders look a little dated. That fender design dates back to about 1981 or 82, I think. And it really kind of looked dated at this, if you look at it now. But in '89 it wasn't a problem. Everybody thought it looked good. Really good looking motorcycle. I do prefer, like I said, the upside down forks to the fork boots on the '88. I actually had the 125 this year. It was kind of a turd, but the 250 I never had, but still a good looking motorcycle. Classic Yamaha. It's hard not to think of Damon Bradshaw and hauling ass on one of these things. It's a good look now and worthy of the number 5 position on my list. In the number 4 position, we have another one of my all-time favorite motorcycles, the 1992 YZ250. This is a bike I didn't own, but my best buddy, the same guy who had that YZ450 that terrified me on a regular basis, had this machine. At the time I was riding Hondas, I had a CR250, and we used to swap back and forth all the time, and I really liked this YZ. It had a very different feel than the Honda. You kind of sat down in it instead of on top of it. The motor was more mellow than the CR. But the suspension was also better, and it didn't head shake like crazy like my Honda did. I love the styling on this bike. Like I said, it's very similar to the '89, the previous model, but you can see in '91 they added an all-new rear section here that really made the bike have a much sleeker look, added grab handles, which I'm sure Jody Weissel appreciated. And they also obviously switched in '91 to the magenta color, this kind of a pink. In '91 I was kind of like, wow, this is a strange choice, but by the time the '92 came around, I was already kind of used to it and really on board with it. I actually like the color a lot now. The bike itself, like I said, was very similar to '91. The main difference is the all new front fender, which I actually love. This is my favorite of the Yamaha YZ front fender designs of all of them. And the integrated front number plate. This number plate is a little different than any other one. This 92 is kind of a one-year design. In 93, they made it a little wider so you could fit three-digit numbers on it better. But I don't think it's as elegant. This original one is by far my favorite design. It's good looking overall. The graphics here are actually not much different than 91. I do like the looks though. 91 and 92 both good looking set of graphics in my opinion, but I do prefer the 92 slightly. A little more, kind of points down a little bit, a little more edgy to look. The only cosmetic thing is a little weird. This linkage in these things was a little bit low. As you can see, it hangs down below the motorcycle. The Motocross Action called it a cow catcher, just waiting to hang up on a whoop. I never had that problem, but as I said, I really like this motorcycle. It was a good looking bike. Great looking bike, actually, particularly if you got it with the YZR graphics. If you could get a set of these ones that make it look like Bradshaw's bike, it was awesome. I love this. The YZR was awesome this year. But even if you went stock, the bike was phenomenal looking motorcycle. Excellent, and I kind of think it holds up. But like I said, a lot of people probably don't care for the magenta look. The pink is kind of a bold design. It'd be weird to see it today, but in 92 it was awesome. It was actually pretty subtle compared to what Suzuki and Honda and some of the others were doing at the time. Certainly better than the RM that year. In any case, this bike, I think it holds up pretty well and is worthy of the number 4 position on my list. Alright, in third place we have the 2002 Yamaha YZ250. Now for 2002, the YZ250 got a total redesign of its bodywork. The all-new look was very reminiscent of 01, 02, actually all of them back to 97. It still had that signature YZ look, but all the body parts were new. The airbox was brand new and got rid of that funky white one. I didn't really care for that. Yamaha sold everybody on the fact that it had made the intake charge cooler, but apparently it didn't because they ditched it 2 years later. To my mind, all it did was make the bike look dingy because your boots rubbed that gray crap on it every 5 minutes. But this bike was really good looking machine. The front and rear fenders were slightly redesigned. The side panels were all new. They're a little larger. I actually don't like this side panel design quite as well as the earlier ones. It does have a little more room for numbers and such, but I like the original 96 one a little better. But that being said, pretty much everything else is just gorgeous. The graphics this year, they're sticking with the Yamaha strobe. A little more minimal, a little smaller than it was in 2001. I like it. It's a good looking motorcycle. This one actually has the steel frame, as you can see. I like that dark blue frame, looked good on it. Good looking motorcycle. I actually prefer the looks of this motorcycle to the new bodywork. In 2015, I think it was, they redesigned it and updated all this bodywork. But I still think this 02 to 14 look is better, at least for my money anyways. I know a lot of people update their plastic, but I don't think there's any need. The bike holds up very nicely as it is, and it makes it to the number 3 spot on my list. In second place, we have another one of my favorite all-time motorcycles, and one I owned as well, the 2005 Yamaha YZ250. Now this bike is very similar to the 2002 in the third position, the main difference being this all-new aluminum frame they added for 2005. Interestingly, I know Chad Reed and Team Yamaha did not care for this chassis. They didn't like the way it felt. I couldn't really tell any difference. I've ridden the older ones with the steel frame in this one, and I'm not fast enough to know the difference. It felt just like a YZ250 to me, but I love the looks of it. It's very unique. Like I said earlier, Yamaha always went their own way with their aluminum chassis, and this is unlike anything else you'd see. It doesn't have the perimeter frame like the modern 4-strokes or anything. Kind of went their own way. Actually, this is very similar to what we originally thought would the aluminum frames would look like in the early 90s when they were testing them. A lot of them were basically the same kind of a frame you'd find on with a steel chassis, just made out of aluminum, and that's more or less what Yamaha did here. Apparently they tried to get the exact same feel they got from the excellent steel chassis, but guys like Villeman and Ferry could tell that it wasn't quite the same. This bike does not have the SSS forks, but other than that, it's pretty much the same machine you'd find on the showroom floor now. Minus the updated graphics. Now this 05 does have my favorite version of the strobe graphics. They're a little bit more minimal than some of the later ones that got a little more fussy. I like this design. It's kind of like not too big, not too small, kind of the Goldilocks design. Good looking motorcycle. Like I said, I had an 05 here. The only thing I added was some factory replica YZR graphics and a few accoutrements, and the bike looks great. I never felt the need to update it with the updated bodywork or anything. I really prefer this look. I'm not sure, like I said, why, other than just trying to trick people into thinking you have a newer motorcycle than you do. I'm not sure why you'd update it. This bike is pretty much almost perfect to me. Great looking machine, and pretty crazy when you think this bodywork came out in 2002. So shucks, it's, you know, what, 17 years old now, and it still looks great. These bikes, you know, back in the old days, if the bike was 2 years old, it looked dated, and now you have one that's 15 years old and still looks great. So either we've all got used to things not changing, or they just hit it out of the park with this one. And I think in this case, my vote is for the latter. Time for the top pick on my list, the 1997 Yamaha YZ250. This was the second year for the all-new YZ design. When this bike originally came out in 1996, I wasn't too psyched with the switch from white and lavender and all the other colors to blue. In 95, they had introduced this really dark navy blue on the factory Yamahas here in America. And I always thought it was kind of funny looking. I know a lot of people liked it. I didn't really care for it. In 96, they went to that on the production bikes and introduced this all-new bodywork, which would basically be the template for the YZ look really into this day. You can still see the DNA of the current YZs in this bodywork here. It was really kind of a forward-thinking design. Great looking bike considering how old this is. This was the first year for the strobe graphics. The strobe here is kind of a play on the original stripe and strobe you would have seen in the 70s and 80s. And it was kind of an updated look that Yamaha still uses. Even if you look at a 2019, there's a little bit kind of an homage to that strobe design built into the graphics themselves. This really dark navy blue you see here was unique to the 96 and 97 models. In 98, they really brightened it up. That made it probably a little more durable. This original design was really prone to having creases, like little white creases if you laid it over or something. It was really easy to get those blemishes in it. But I thought it was a good looking, unique look. I really like this design. Like I said, it was only these 2 years. Again, good luck now if you're trying to renovate one of these, finding this blue. It's impossible. Anything else you get out there is going to be the lighter shade. But in 96, 97, it was this really dark color. I like the changes for 97 where they, in 96, the front fender was white and the frame was white. And in 97, they put the blue fender on here and also the blue frame. And I just think it's a great look overall. The graphics, like I said, are one of my favorites of the early strobe designs. I like it much better than 98 and 99. And I prefer the looks of this original side panel. It's a little bit more svelte, I guess, than the O2 look. Not quite as large. Probably not as practical, again, for the reasons where you'd actually want to put numbers on the thing. I could see why you'd want a bigger one, but I actually think this looks better. To me, this is a classic, timeless look that holds up really well. I still think it looks great, and for that reason, I picked it as the #1 choice of all time on Yamaha YZ motocrossers. So there you have it. My picks for the 10 best looking Yamaha motocross models of all time. I would love to know what everybody thinks. I'm sure some of you think I probably slipped on a banana peel and hit my head. I'm sure not everybody's going to agree with my picks. I tried to get a little bit of sampling from everything. I could have easily gone with, every Yamaha in the 2000s or something like that, but I wanted to be a little more fair and give a nod to some of the older bikes and stuff. Like I said, in terms of sleekness and overall looks, it's hard to compare with something new, but I tried to weight it based on, like I said, the bikes of its time and stuff. It's unfair to really compare a 78 machine against a 2020 machine, but you have to kind of take into account the way things have changed over the years. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, I have done one on the Honda, my top 10 picks for Honda, as well as Suzuki recently. I will be doing Kawasaki probably in the future, and KTM as well. I hope you enjoy this sort of thing. If you do, feel free to subscribe, like I said. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle there is @TonyBlazier. That's TonyBlazier. I post classic motocross stuff all the time on my social media. And I also do a lot of writing at Pulp MX. I do a column called Classic Steel there where I do reviews on these old motorcycles. And certainly if you're into that kind of thing, check out Pulp MX and see what I'm up to. Until next time, keep the rubber side down, and thanks for watching.